Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Samueli. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, Peter, we've talked a lot about the disputes the European Union is getting into with its member states, in particular Poland and Hungary. But its dispute with Poland is now reaching a very acute phase. And what has happened is that the European Commission, which is the top executive body in the EU, has demanded that the EU's top court, your EU Court of Justice, impose daily fines on Poland because Poland is not complying with its demand on getting rid of this body, this disciplinary body that they set up against its judges. Again, you would have thought this was set up by a democratic decision of Poland's legislature, but it's in violation of EU values, and they demanded that Poland get rid of this judicial disciplinary body. Poland said that he would do so, but the EU said, you haven't done it. What's holding you up? You haven't done it. And therefore, we will now impose daily fines on Poland, and that these fines will be taken out of the EU development fund that should be going to Poland, but because after all, there is the pandemic and all the economic dislocation that's been caused by the pandemic. So Poland isn't going to be getting that lot. And instead, there's just going to be these daily fines imposed on them. Hungary has already said that it's in support of Poland and said that it's going to do, its damnedest to fight back against the European Commission, because of course Hungary has its own problems over the law about homosexual and transgender propaganda to school children and transgender propaganda in the media. So Hungary has its own problems. But again, Peter, it's fascinating, this development in which the EU is now getting into these conflicts with member states over democratically arrived at decisions on the part of these member states. I mean, it's always sort of saying, you're violating or whatever. But this was, this wasn't just simply, some guy decides that, this is what I'm going to do. This was decided on by elected legislatures, and you're taking away money that should be properly allocated to member states. It's an extraordinary development. Anyway, what was your take?
I mean, you and I are big history buffs, and I'm sorry, George, it sounds like the Comintern to me.
It is the Comintern.
Yeah. Moscow has decided that the Polish party, needs to, come closer to our Leninist norms, right. Okay, and you must change the party and this policy. Right. I mean, my goodness. And they were, a lot of people don't like to talk about it, and you and I know it very well, is that there were national communist parties in Eastern Europe, and they did have a modicum of support. Okay, they did, because of their modernizing policies. But the EU has to decide. Is it a centralized United States of Europe, which nobody voted for, not once, not ever, by anyone in the EU, right. Or is it a group of democratic countries that come together and coalesce and compromise and have conciliation? I mean, I don't know, George, I'm going to just say some words here. A German, a Hungarian, and a Spaniard. Are they all exactly the same to you? They're not to me.
I don't think so.
You think a Greek person is exactly the same as someone in the Netherlands? No, we learned that from the financial crisis in Greece. Okay, I mean, the thing is that where is democracy in all of this if you claim that that's so important to you? And then why is democracy one size fits all? I would say no. And that's why we're having these problems here. Oh, and then if you don't follow our rules, we're going to treat you like a truant. Okay.
Right, exactly. Because these have real consequences. I mean, there's a major economic results of this pandemic. So Hungary, Poland, they need this money. There's been a lot of economic dislocation, all the lockdowns and whatnot. And to start saying, well, we're just going to count all this, these daily fines. Every day we're going to fine, and every day you're going to get less and less money from this development fund. This is really, as you said, it is reminiscent of the party. Suddenly, well, we don't like the line you're taking, and we're going to start imposing discipline on you. But the point is that every country has a right to determine its own domestic affairs. Poland, this is particularly on matters of law, judiciary. Every country is different. I mean, every country's legal system is a little different from every other. It is ridiculous to say that we should all follow one particular standards. Oh well, in some parts of the United States, you have judges who are elected. Some parts, have judges who are appointed. I mean, who's better? I mean, it's just different.
And then that's why in the United States people go judge shopping.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah, there's judge shopping.
Particularly during the Trump administration, let's go to Oregon. We got a couple judges there. Oh, no problem. Okay,
that's right. Exactly. Exactly right. Because there's some parts of the United States where hey, we know it's always courts there are always pro-plaintiff. So we'll go there. Or here's a court, so we know they're always pro-defendant. We'll go here. I mean, all of that is, as you said, even in the United States, it's very, very different.
But it's baked in. Everybody knows it. Okay, that's how our system works. Okay, for better or worse, that's how it works. Okay, yeah. But in the European Union, so Poland, when you signed up for this project, did you know that they're going to be telling you how to run your judiciary? Did you know that? No, you didn't know that. They lied to you. Okay.
That's right. That's it.
And then you're still at the children's table, and we're going to humiliate you on a daily basis. Okay. Okay. This is really absurd. This show, what this shows? It shows weakness in Brussels. They see the sand dripping through their fingers. Okay. They feel it. They know it. They're terrified.
Right. But I think that's a very good point, because you would have thought after the experience of Brexit, major blow, losing the United Kingdom. That's a big country, a big power to lose. You would have thought, hey, let's be careful. We don't want to lose anyone else from the team. But the way they're going about it, I think a number of countries are going to start thinking, what are we really getting out of all of this? I mean, do we really want Ursula von der Leyen coming along telling us that, hey, we aren't following EU norms, we are violating its values, we don't really understand democracy, all the intricacies of democracy, always incidentally said by people who have never run for any office. They don't, you are violating democratic norms, says some bureaucrat who's never been elected to anything.
And do you think the average Portuguese citizen is going to be happy to know that a system that everybody pays into, that they give it to an unelected official that lives probably under palatial conditions, by the way? I'm sure there's brunch every day there. And then you're working in an economy controlled by these people, and they decided they're going to go punish people across the continent because they don't like their judicial system. That's right. A lot of Europeans are going to say, "What is this about? Right. Okay, what is this all about?
Exactly.
Why are you picking on the Hungarians?"
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Because these are really, the most domestic of all domestic issues. How you organize your courts. With Poland, I mean, same also in Hungary, they've had problems with the Hungarian judicial system, but education system, you can't get more local than education. It's no, we know the way the Hungarian education system must operate. You're really getting absolutely involved in the minutiae of other countries, and involved on the part of people who have no connection at all to these countries. So, you talk about Poland. I mean, what the hell do they know about Poland? How many of them do they know any Polish language? But they're getting involved in all of this this nonsense.
One of the bizarre outcomes of all of this is that, and I don't see that, I'm not saying this is necessarily as a criticism, but only as an observation. is that part of the EU, they look at countries that have ethnic minorities and they make an effort to make sure that there is no discrimination against them, because this is a legacy of the Treaty of Versailles and a legacy of the Second World War. And I'm thinking of the Roma, for example. The Roma have to at least be given the opportunity to have education. They have to have some kind of opportunities in the country where they are. But there seems such a fixation on minority populations that they totally are oblivious to the majority populations of their own union.
That's right. That's right. Now, I think the case of the Roma is a very interesting one, because they just use the Roma as a cudgel in order to beat over the head, these various retrograde countries. So it's like you always bash Hungary. You can always just suddenly wheel out, oh, the Roma. Who's got a bad record on the Roma? Well, just about everybody, incidentally. But some countries are even worse on the Roma than others. I think Hungary is one of them. But it's a useful weapon to unleash at any particular time.
It reminds me in the early days of crosstalk. Anytime we talked about any geopolitical event, any foreign policy, there would always be the guests who say, "What about Chechnya?" And what about it? I haven't heard the name in years. What about Chechnya? Is it like, and that's it. What about the Roma?
That's right.
The Kurds. The Kurds.
That's
these words.
Exactly.
They always have these words here.
Right.
They're supposed to evoke some kind of emotion. They don't know which one, but you have to be emotional. Okay.
That's it.
This is how you mold narratives, everyone.
Yeah, it is exactly how you shape narratives, and it's so important that it's always how to determine it. So the Roma persecuted minorities, and who's doing the persecuting? Again, the same cast of suspects. Again, it's the same one. You bring Hungary, Poland, Romania. That's all you can. And so at any time, we haven't heard about Roma for a little while. That doesn't mean that we're not going to hear about it. In a couple of months, suddenly, whoa, hey, what about the Roma?
It's like the European Union's obsession with what is Islamophobia. But does the European Union ever speak up when a church is burned to the ground, when a Catholic priest has his neck slit? Okay, do they? It's always just, it's very stilted here. Okay,
very exactly.
I am for religious liberty, and I respect all major faiths. Okay, I really do. Okay, and they have lived together for a long time. Okay, they make up these false histories. Okay, but if you wanted to, they'll protect any religion except for Christianity. Now that's going too far.
No, that's exactly right. And so what happens in such a case when a Catholic priest is stabbed to death by some crazed Islamist? We must not persecute Muslims. That's your immediate response.
Don't judge.
That's right. This is an absolutely horrific, monstrous crime. Particularly as this Catholic priest that actually looked after this refugee, and this is his reward. Instead of saying all that, we must not give way to Islamophobia. But do they say the same thing? I mean, when, let's say, some European commits a crime, hey, we mustn't take, this is not an excuse for any phobia towards the Europeans. No, it's always a kind of one-sided thing. I mean, they know all of the appropriately politically correct noises. You make it on every occasion, and I think they have a visceral hostility to Hungary and Poland, which are kind of ancient peoples, that ancient states, and have a very strong sense of nationhood. I think it just drives the bureaucrats crazy.
That's absolutely right. And you know what? And what we had during the interwar period is that we had a consolidation in some ways through the worst possible means. A lot of it was fascistic or just outright fascist. And then during the communist period, their culture saved them in many ways. I can attest to that. I lived in communist Poland in the 1980s, and people venerated their authors, their culture, their struggles. Okay, and now the West starts dangling little shiny things in front of you, saying, "We're going to make you rich."
Yes.
And then they become more affluent. Yes, but Got to give over the culture. Yeah, that's part of the Faustian bargain. Now pay up.
I think so. I think so. It's very interesting. I mean, something we'll talk about at greater length or sometime. Like you have the sort of deracinated, denationalized Western countries that have kind of shed
and secularized.
Secularized. You know, they've lost all sense of their nationhood, and then you have a kind of different attitude on the part of the Eastern Europeans, like Poland and Hungary. It's a very interesting contrast that emerged. I mean, Germany is a very good example that they've pretty much shed anything distinctively German, everything that we think of as German. I mean, it's an odd sort of people that emerge, who just we don't want to have anything to do with what Germanness means. We just want to get rich and have a good life, but we don't care anything at all about us as a people, as a nation with a historic continuity and so on. So it's a kind of an interesting contrast that's emerging in Europe.
Yeah, but see what these Western secularized, denationalized elites don't understand is that for a lot of Eastern European countries, it was their culture and their sense of nation that helped them survive. They lived in the worst possible neighborhood in the 20th century. It wasn't good to be in Eastern Europe, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, and if people doubt me, look at the German occupation of France, okay? For the most part, it was a picnic, okay? It wasn't that way in the East.
No, right. That's
what George and I are saying is that, that this is part of their DNA, their identity. And there's this vacuous gray matter across the continent is saying, we're going to, and this is what's important. It's money. It's important. Right. It's important to us. It should be important to you. So we sold out everything for money.
Right.
You have to do the same.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I agree that's exactly what they're doing. And they think, hey, we cut off the spigot and make you suffer. You're going to, bend your knee. I mean, it's it isn't happening, but it's also humiliating a country. Imagine sort of going to Poland and saying, "Well, we don't like your policies. We're just going to keep fining you." And then you find because we told you get rid of this disciplinary body, and it hasn't been done. It really is like, as you said, like a children. Hey, I told you, yesterday you're supposed to clean out your room. You haven't cleaned out your room yet,
and
no dinner for you.
And you know what it means, George, is the slippery slope. Okay, so you kowtowed to us over the courts. Well, we've been looking at your educational system. Okay.
Yeah, no, I get, because Poland also has its own LGBTQI plus whatever issues that the EU is frowns on. It's always the same cast of characters, same issues that the EU continues.
And the demonstration effect that they want to send to Slovakia, to Hungary, and
Slovenia as well, yeah, and Czech Republic.
That's what happened there,
Yeah.
So maybe we can just snap our fingers and you'll get in line, and we don't have to go through it's just terrible stuff for everyone, isn't it? Right. This is a Faustian bargain. This is what it is. I've been talking about this for 30 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I agree.
All right, everybody. Rant is over. Okay. All right. We're going to keep an eye on this, obviously. George, I mean, I have a very long history with Poland, and George obviously is in Hungary right now. And he has a long history there as well.
Yes.
So we're going to keep an eye on both these stories. I think it's very, very important and emblematic of what's going on in the Western world. So we're on local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. Tomorrow, George has already sent out the notification.
Exactly, doing the super chats. So, it will be at noon Eastern Standard Time. So whatever you're doing, you're having lunch, breakfast, you're still sleeping, you tune in, you show up.
Spread the word, share.
Exactly. Yeah. And you set your alarm clock if you're a late riser, so you can join us. Noon Eastern Standard Time.
George is scheduling another live stream. George will do this Sunday. We're going to try to do a Q&A because the questions are accumulating. Lots of nice merchandise at the store. Check that out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring up my favorite prop because he's sleeping. What else do we have here? We're doing Zoom calls with gagglers.
Yep.
Just go to the page. You can find out how to do that. That's always a lot of fun. Also, we do calls with other people on Locals, which is turning into a really interesting experience. Okay,
Right.
Locals is a good place to be,
Right, right.
and we're happy to be here.
That's
And
right. And also, we're having, our fellow gagglers, and I mentioned this the other day, are posting all sorts of really interesting news items. And it's emerging as an important news source, so that people, who want to find out what's going on in the world, not just, they'll have the benefit of our podcast, but also the benefit of very, very interesting postings by fellow gagglers. So absolutely, it's essential for people to join the gaggle.
And one thing I've noticed, and I'll end on this, I've noticed the tip jar does not fill itself. It's
I noticed it too. And Buddy noticed it, and Buddy has already commented on it on more than one occasion.
This is the third video George and I have made today. On average, we make 2, so it's like 2.5 a day. We really enjoy doing it. We do it for you, but there is the tip jar that, and of course it's not there's no obligation, but we would appreciate if you could show some kindness our way, because it doesn't fill itself up, and we don't have
exactly. Yeah,
nor do I want major backers, okay? Because I don't want to be in the pay, okay? $1 from each one of you is far more important than having some greaseball saying, we'll buy you up, okay? No Faustian bargains here.
No, that's exactly right. There's no free check from Mark Zuckerberg. He's not just going to give us a nice chunk of change and say, hey guys, see you, enjoy yourselves. No, absolutely, no. We don't want to do the bidding of anybody. The more you can help us, the better the product will be. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.